Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we are going to take up the MCQs based on today's newspaper of The Hindu and Indian Express. Before moving on to the discussion, we have two important announcements for you. The first announcement is about RAU'S IAS Prelims Test Series, in which you can subscribe and increase your chances for prelims exam. The second announcement is about PSIR Optional Test Series, which can help you to test, revise and get feedback on your answers. The information regarding Prelims Test Series and PSIR Optional Test Series have been provided in the YouTube description. Let us start the discussion. The first question of today's discussion is based on this news, which has appeared on page number 13 in The Hindu. It basically talks about the Agni 5 missile, which India has recently tested. It was a significant event as it boosts the country's strategic deterrence, and it brings almost the entire Asia under its striking range. As UPSC has previously asked many questions on missiles and other technological interventions which helps in safeguarding the security of the country. So this area becomes important for our discussion. Before solving the practice MCQ, have a look at this question which has appeared in the year 2014. In this, UPSC has asked key facts about Agni 4 missile. In this question, you have to identify the correct statements out of the given 3 statements. On the similar lines, we have designed one practice MCQ on Agni 5, and it says, with reference to Agni 5, which of the following statements are correct? The first statement says, it is nuclear capable ballistic missile with range up to 6500 km. The second statement says, it is a long-range surface-to-air missile. The third statement says it uses a two-stage solid-fueled engine developed by DRDO. In this question, you have to identify the correct statement. The first statement which is given here is incorrect, as Agni 5 is a nuclear-capable ballistic missile, but the range has been mentioned incorrect, as it is capable of striking targets at the range up to 5000 kilometers. The second statement is again incorrect because Agni 5 is a long-range surface-to-surface missile. It is not surface-to-air. The third statement is again incorrect as it uses a 3-stage solid-fuel engine and not the 2-stage solid-fueled engine. So, the answer to this question becomes D, which is none of the above. And the answer to the previous year question is A, which is 1 only. Moving on to the next question, which is based on this news, which has appeared on page number 15 in The Hindu. This news basically talks about the removal of Iran from UN Women Rights Body, which is named as United Nations Commission on Status of Women. This news per se is not very important from our UPSC exam perspective, but UN bodies are an important theme in our UPSC prelims exam. As you can see, in the year 2022, UPSC has asked a question on United Nations Credentials Committee. From this particular question, you must be getting the idea that how important are the UN bodies. In this question, you have to identify the correct statements. You can pause this video and try to solve this question. The practice question in this regard says, with reference to United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, consider the following statements. In this question, you have been given 3 statements, and out of them, you have to identify the correct statements. The first statement says, it is the principal global intergovernmental body exclusively dedicated for the promotion of gender equality and empowerment of women. It is a correct statement as the Commission on Status of Women is an intergovernmental body which furthers the agenda of gender equality and women empowerment. The second statement says, it is a functional commission of UN ECOSOC. It is also called United Nations Economic and Social Council. It is again a correct statement as the Commission on the Status of Women was established by ECOSOC Resolution 11 subclause 2 in 1946. Hence, this statement becomes correct. The third statement says, India is the member of Commission on the Status of Women. It is again a correct statement as India is currently the member of the Commission and it will remain the member till 2025. As you have to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes D, which is 1, 2 and 3. And the answer to the previous year question is A, which is 3 only, as this committee was set up by UNGA and not by United Nations Security Council. Moving on to the next question, which is based on this news, which has appeared on page number 7 in Indian Express. It basically talks about the Agnipath scheme. As you all must be aware that there was a widespread protest against this scheme. And recently, Delhi High Court reserved the order on the pleas challenging this scheme. The flagship initiatives and schemes of Government of India are important from UPSC prelims exam perspective. Back in 2018, UPSC has specifically asked about Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. In this, you are being given 3 statements. Out of them, you have to identify the correct statements. Just try a hand on this. On the similar lines, we have designed one practice MCQ on Agnipath scheme, as it can be asked by UPSC in the coming prelims exam. In this question, we have given 3 statements and you are required to identify the correct statements out of them. The first statement says, of the total annual recruits, only 10% will be allowed to continue after 4 years for another 15 years under permanent commission. It is an incorrect statement, as 25% recruits will be allowed to continue after the 4 years of the service. The second statement says, the new system is only for the personnel below officer ranks. It is a correct statement. Now what does this mean? It means this scheme is applicable for those who do not join the forces as commissioned officers. Hence, this statement is correct. The third statement says, at the end of 4-year period, each soldier will get a lump sum amount which will be tax-free. It is a factually correct statement, as each soldier will get around 11 lakh rupees which will be tax-free. So, this statement becomes correct. And the answer to this question becomes B, which is 2 and 3 only. The answer to the previous year question is C, which is 2 and 3 only, as Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana is a flagship scheme of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship and not the Ministry of Labour. So, this statement becomes incorrect. Whenever you come across any flagship scheme, just try to remember 2 things: its key objective and the ministry under which it is being implemented. The next question of today's discussion is based on this news which has appeared on page number 13 in Indian Express. This article says that Bangladesh has reached out to IMF for seeking economic help, as the economy of Bangladesh is facing a downturn due to increased inflation, current account deficit and weakening of Bangladesh currency, which is known as Taka, in response to US dollar. The context of this news is not very important from our exam perspective as far as UPSC Prelims is concerned. But IMF is an important international body on which UPSC has previously asked many questions, so this area becomes important for our discussion. Before solving the practice MCQ, have a look at this question which has appeared in UPSC Prelims exam in 2020. It says, gold tranche refers to which of the following? Out of these given 4 options, you have to identify the correct option. Here, we have framed one practice MCQ on IMF and it says, consider the following statements regarding International Monetary Fund, which is also known as IMF. In this question, you have to identify the correct statements. The first statement says, membership of IMF is prerequisite for the membership in the World Bank. The second statement says, a country must be member of United Nations to be a part of IMF. The third statement says, IMF allows member country to choose its own method of determining the exchange value. The first statement is correct, as the membership of IMF is prerequisite for the membership in the World Bank. But a country need not to be the member of United Nations to be a part of IMF. So, second statement becomes incorrect, and any country can join IMF in accordance with the IMF articles of the agreement and terms prescribed by the Board of Governors. The third statement is correct, as IMF allows the member countries to choose their own method of determining the exchange value. As you are required to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes D, which is 1 and 3 only. And the answer to the previous year question is also D, as gold tranche is a credit system granted by IMF to its members. For your prelims exam preparation, keep a tab on IMF and World Bank, as both the bodies are important in regulating the world economic system. The next question of today's discussion is based on this news which has appeared on page number 6 in Indian Express. It basically talks about the promotion of ecotourism in Asola Bhati Sanctuary. A statement released by senior officials of Forest Department says, the ecotourism will enhance the experience of visitors when they will be allowed to travel in and around the wildlife sanctuary, as e-cycles, golf carts will be available on rent for the visitors. Here you can also see a lake which is called Neeli Jheel. It is inside the wildlife sanctuary, as you never know that UPSC might ask a question on this particular information. As biodiversity conservation is an important area in UPSC Prelims exam, this area becomes important for our discussion. Before solving the practice MCQ, have a look at this question which has appeared in the year 2020. In this, you have to identify the natural habitat for the musk deer. You are being given 4 options. Out of them, you have to identify the correct option. On the lines of biodiversity conservation, we have framed one practice MCQ and it says, consider the following statements. You are given 3 statements. Out of them, you have to identify the correct statements. The first statement says, wildlife sanctuaries are reserved area of land established by government to protect the environment as whole. It is an incorrect statement because it is not the wildlife sanctuary but the biosphere reserve which is established by government to protect the environment as whole. Moreover, wildlife sanctuary is a natural habitat owned by government or a private agency that safeguards particular species of birds and animals. Further, the restrictions in the wildlife sanctuaries are less and they are open to the visitations by general public. So, this statement becomes incorrect. The second statement says, national parks are notified areas to safeguard a particular species of birds and animals. As we have discussed, it is basically the wildlife sanctuary, not the national parks, which helps in protecting particular species of birds and animals. This statement again becomes incorrect. The last and the third statement says, Delhi hosts only one wildlife sanctuary. It is a correct statement as Asola Bhati sanctuary is the only sanctuary which is situated in Delhi. So, the answer to this question becomes C, which is 3 only. And the answer to the previous year question is A, which is 1 and 2 only. The last question of today's discussion is based on this news which has appeared on page number 14 in The Hindu. It talks about the problem of air pollution across South Asia. A recent report by World Bank has said that coordinated efforts are required to reduce the pollution level in India, as India has 6 large air sheds and some of them are shared with Pakistan. So, the reduction of pollution is possible only if the countries across South Asia join hands together and work on it, as pollution is an important theme in the environment section. So, this area becomes important for your exam preparation. Back in 2020, UPSC has asked this question in which you have to identify the reasons or factors for the exposure to benzene pollution. In this, you have to identify the correct options from the given 5 options. You can pause this video and try to solve this question. On the similar lines, we have designed one practice MCQ and it says, consider the following statements with reference to particulate matter. In this, you have to identify the correct statement. The first statement says, particulate matter is composed of mixture of solids and liquids found in the air. It is a correct statement as particulate matter is composed of dirt, dust, soot and many other mixtures which are found in the air. So, this statement becomes correct. The second statement says, the sources of generation of PM are anthropogenic processes. By using the common sense, you can make this statement incorrect as particulate matter can be generated by anthropogenic processes or natural processes like volcanic eruptions, forest fires and pollination. So, this statement becomes incorrect. The third statement says, particulate matter can cause serious disruptions to the lungs by damaging their outer layer. It is a correct statement as PM 2.5 and PM 10 can enter into bloodstream and pose severe health risks such as asthma, heart disease or short-term problems like nose irritation and irritation of eyes. Hence, this statement becomes correct. As we need to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes A, which is 1 and 3 only. And the answer to the previous year question is also A, which is 1, 2 and 3 only.